You're watching TVC News Hour. Governor Willie Obiano's victory in Saturday's election in Anambra State was widely welcomed by observers who said it was free and fair. But some of the major contestants are questioning the integrity of the vote. The APC's deputy governorship candidate, Uche Igwe Jr., accused the Election Commission of manipulating the results in favor of the ruling All Progressives Grand Alliance. And the PDP's candidate, Oseloka has rejected the results, saying it didn't reflect what happened on the field. Uche Igwe, a political researcher, joins us on the news from Abuja. Thanks for joining us. Now, for many who described it as free and fair, they also said it's the quickest election we've had so far in this administration, but others are questioning this election. Let's begin with what was your perception, or what is your perception of the elections in Anambra State?
Well, I think that the elections were largely free and fair, and the outcome of the election and the results didn't surprise anyone. It didn't surprise me at all. It is clear that the ruling party in the state is quite popular, and I found it, fairly surprising that the People's Democratic Party is trying to dispute the outcome of the elections. I think that it was won fair and square, and the most popular party obviously won the election.
Now, Mr. Igwe, it is said that Obiano got more than half the valid votes cast. And how true is it that this is the first time in Nigeria, in the history of Nigeria's electioneering process, that any candidate would be able to get more than half the valid votes cast? And what do you attribute this to?
Well, if you understand what happened, he could actually have scored more. If you look at it, the governor, His Excellency Obiano, was brought, if you like, for want of a better word, by His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi, who again had to cross over to the People's Democratic Party, and then, of course, fielded another candidate. So the structure, the most dominant political structure in Anambra State still remains an Anambra structure. And if you see that really it was a very important test for that political party. If that political party hadn't won that election, the political party would have died a natural death. And if you also recall that that is the home state of the founder of the party, and the former Biafran leader, the late Dim Odumegwu Ojukwu Ezegbo Buruburu, you would understand why the figures were the way they were and why I insist that the figures could be more.
Okay, now let's take a look at APC's deputy governorship candidate, Uche Igwe Jr., who's accused the Election Commission of manipulating the results. And we also have the governorship contestant who also has actually called in and congratulated the winner of the election. What does it say about the relationship between these two?
Well, I think that the APC governorship candidate, Honorable Dr. Tony Nwoye, did something I believe is very sportsmanly, and he sort of understands, he's a politician, he understands the political dynamics. He understands, for instance, that both himself, the PDP candidate, and the incumbent governor come from the same senatorial zone. And, if you look at the dynamics, it was very clear that if, for instance, the Anambra people had returned Dr. Nwoye or Baze, they would be asking for probably 2 terms. But if now that they have returned the incumbent governor, he will have only 4 years. So the other senatorial zones who have not had a shot or who are expecting to have a shot at the governorship obviously would like to vote for the incumbent governor so that he will serve for 4 years so that it will be their turn. So I think Dr. Tony Nwoye understands the dynamics, and the intricacies of the politics of the state, and that's why he probably, did that, very sportsmanly conduct of calling and congratulating the governor. There's a probability. I don't think it was a perfect election. There also could be a probability why his deputy feels otherwise, but it sort of also portrays, both of them as sort of not being on the same page. I don't know the details, but I think that what the candidate said is what is generally accepted as the position of the party, because he is the leader of the party in the state. So whatever he says, takes precedence over whatever his deputy said in this case.
Now, since you think the results are a fair assessment of APGA's popularity in Anambra State, now let's look at APC's result. APC was able to poll about 98,000 votes as against the other party perceived as popular in the Southeast, that's the PDP. What's your assessment of this performance?
Well, I think that first is that APC is the ruling party. And if you notice, the APC campaigned vigorously, in the state. The president himself came, and you would not, discount the influence of the president, and the possibility of federal projects, the possibility of connecting to the center, and the kind of rigorous marketing, that was done about what sort of benefits that could come from this connection. Some of these things helped enhance the position of APC. One other important thing is that, like I told you earlier, the leader of the PDP in the state, Mr. Peter Obi, used to be an APGA governor. So essentially, the structures he was tapping into was essentially an APGA structure. So he couldn't have done any magic. He did a lot of work trying to demarcate his political godson, the incumbent Governor Obiano, but I don't think he could achieve much, because here we are, the governor has spent 4 years consolidating and owning the structure. And here we are, the person who nominated him to Anambra people. When you listen to what Anambra people were saying, what they were saying before the election is that if Governor Obiano was a bad product, it was Peter Obi that brought the bad product. How come he now woke up and he's now trying to say the product he brought was a bad product? Indeed, what Mr. Peter Obi should be doing will be to be apologizing to Anambra people, not to be saying that he has woken up to see another product. So it was really a very difficult task for him. In my view, he even did well to score, the number of votes he scored with a new person, because it's like trying to say, hey, hang on a minute, this is the person I brought. I actually gave you a bad product. By the way, the new candidate of PDP was there in APGA, as it were, when Mr. Peter Obi decided to choose Mr. Obiano. So I think that, it's really strange that he could stand before Anambra people to say that he misled them, and then also expect them to believe him, to give them another product. For me, as a bystander, I will not believe him, because, I will say in parentheses that he has misled them once. And whatever he has done, he really did well by demarcating the incumbent governor and then tapping into his structure. But it was obvious that it was not, successful and significant enough, to cause major political impact.
So many business terms there, from products to marketing. You're a political analyst. But let's talk about the turnout of the elections. We know there was a threat by IPOB that the elections wouldn't hold in Anambra State, and we heard that actually affected the turnout. Do you think so?
Well, I think so. I think it did affect the turnout. Again, it is difficult for anybody to rule out the influence of IPOB and what they have, done in the past, and their stronghold in the Southeast. But I also commend the Anambra political leaders by the maturity they showed. Because if you recall, a couple of months back, IPOB had called for a sit at home, in the whole of the Southeast zone, and even in some places like the South-South, where there are a lot of Igbos, who are trading and everything, and people did not come out. So I believe that there have been a whole lot of background negotiation, that have been going on, and all of that, that led to that kind of outcome. Could the outcome be better? Yes, the outcome could be better. But under the circumstances, I think it was a nice outcome, and it was an eloquent testimony that, that the followership of IPOB is diminishing, and the messages of peace that people like us, have been trying to propagate, to say, look, you cannot face somebody with a more tank, somebody who is dancing Egweke, you know, with an empty hand. So I think that that message is percolating slowly and systematically. Also, the sudden disappearance, you know, we do not know the whereabouts, for instance, of the IPOB leader, and there have been all kinds of conflicting messages, you know, coming from IPOB. All those things are also contributing, you know, to get our young men and all those IPOB enthusiasts to begin to look in a different direction, which in my view is very commendable.
Uche Igwe, political analyst, talking to us from Abuja, especially commenting on the turnout of the Anambra State governorship election just concluded on Saturday. We thank you very much for your time and thoughts on TVC News Hour.